So I'm reading today from this book. It's Folktales from the Southern Appalachians, collected and retold by Richard Chase. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs of the preface, and then I'm going to read the story. He says, "For all true folk traditions have this dynamic appeal. They stick with us, and they grow and change with every individual who receives them. Setting such things down in cold print is really a hazardous undertaking. They do not exist in any book. The old Scottish woman did well to warn Sir Walter that if he printed her ballad, it would ne'er be sung mair. It is only when our old songs and old tales are passing from one human being to another by word of mouth that they can attain their full fascination. No printed page can create this spell. It is the living word, the sung ballad, and the told tale that holds our attention and reaches our hearts." Right. Jack and the Robbers. This here's another tale about Jack when he was a small boy. He was about 12, I reckon, and his daddy started trying to make him help with the work around the place. But Jack, he didn't like working much. He would piddle around a little and he'd go back into the house. Till one day his daddy whipped him. He just tanned Jack good. Jack didn't cry none, but he didn't like it a bit. So early the next morning he slipped off without telling his mother and struck out down the public road. Thought he'd go and try his fortune somewhere off from home. He got down the road a few miles, and there was an old ox standing in a field by a rail fence, a bellowing like it was troubled over something. "Moo! Moo!" "Hello," Jack says. "What's the matter?" "I'll just tell you," said the old ox. "I'm getting too old to plow, and I heard the men talking about how they'd like to have to kill me tomorrow to get rid of me. Come on down here to the gap," says Jack, "and you can slip off with me." So the old ox followed the fence to where the gap was at, and Jack let the bars down, and the old ox got out in front of Jack, and they went on down the public road. Jack and the ox traveled on. Pretty soon they came to where there was an old donkey standing with his head hanging down over the gate, going, "Woo-nee, woo-nee." "Hello," says Jack, "what's a troubling you?" "Law me," says the old donkey, "the boys took me out to haul in the woods this morning, and I'm getting so old and weak I couldn't do no good. I heard 'em say they were going to kill me tomorrow to get rid of me." "Come on, go with us," says Jack. So he let the old donkey out, and they pulled on down the public road. The old donkey told Jack to get up on his back and ride. They went on a piece and came to an old hound dog sitting in a man's yard. It would bark a while and then holler a while. "Ow! Ow!" Sounded awful lonesome. "Hello," says Jack, "what you a-hauling so for?" "Oh, law me," says the old dog, "these boys took me coon hunting last night. Cut a tree where the coon had got up in it. I got hold of the coon all right, but my teeth are all gone and the hip got loose for me. They said they were going to kill me today to get rid of me." "Come on, go with us," says Jack. So the old dog scrounged under the gate. The old donkey says to him, "Get up on my back and ride if you want to." Jack holped up the old dog behind him, and they went on down the public road. Came to an old tomcat climbing along the fence. It was a squalling and meowing, stop every now and then, sit down the top rail. Meow, meow, wow. Sounded right pitiful. "Hello," says Jack, "what's the matter with you squalling so?" "Oh, law," says the old cat, "I caught a rat out in the barn this morning, but my teeth are getting so old and bad I let 'em go. I heard him talking about killing me to get rid of me, 'cause I ain't no good at catching rats no more." "Come on, go with us," says Jack. So the old cat jumped down off the fence. The old donkey says, "Hop up there on my back and you can ride." The old cat jumped up, got behind the dog, and they went on down the public road. Came to where they saw an old rooster sitting on a fence post, crowing like it was midnight, making the awfulest lonesome racket. "Er-er-er! Er-er-er!" "Hello," says Jack, "what's the troubling you?" "Law me," says the old rooster, "company's come today, and I heard 'em say they were going to kill me, put me right in a pie." "Come on with us," says Jack. Old rooster flew on down, got behind the cat, says, "All right, boys, let's go." So they went right on down the highway. That was about all they could get on the donkey's back. The old rooster was right on top of its tail and having a sort of hard time staying on. They traveled on, till it got plumb dark. Well, says Jack, we got to get off the road and find us a place to stay tonight. Directly they came to a little path leading off into the woods. Decided to take that, see could they find them a place to stay in there. Went on a right smart piece further, and way long up and late in the night they came to a little house. Didn't have no clearing around it. Jack hollered hello at the fence, but there didn't nobody answer. Come on, says the old donkey, let's go investigate that place. Well, there wasn't nobody ever come to the door, and there wasn't nobody round back of the house, so directly they went on in. Found a right smart lot of good-looking something to eat in there. Jack says, now, who in the world do you reckon could be a-living out here in such a wilderness of a place as this? Well, says the old donkey, it's my opinion that a gang of highway robbers lives out here. So, Jack says, then it looks like, to me, we might as well take up and stay here. If they've done stole all these victuals, we got as much right to 'em as they have. Yes, says the old dog, that is exactly what I think too. But if we stay, I believe we better get fixed for a fight. I expect they'll be coming back here about midnight. That's just what I was going to say, said the old cat. I bet it's pretty close to midnight right now. It likes about an hour, says the old rooster. Come on then, says Jack, let us all get out set to fight 'em. The ox said he'd stay out in the yard. The old donkey said he'd take up his stand on the porch just outside the door. The dog said he'd get in behind the door and fight from there. And the old tomcat got down in the fireplace, and the old rooster flew up on the comb of the roof, says, if you boys need me, just call on me. Call on me. They all waited a while. Heard somebody coming directly. It was 7 highway robbers. They came on till they got pretty close to the house. Then they told one of them to go on in and start up a fire so as they could have a light and to see what to get in and so they could divide the money out they stole that day. One man went on in the house. The other 6 waited out inside the gate. That man went to the fireplace, got down on his knees to blow up the fire. The cat had his head right down in the hearth rock, and that man thought its eyes was coals of fire. Time he blowed in that old cat's eyes, it reached out its claws right quick and scratched him down both cheeks. The robber hollered and headed for the door. The dog ran out and bit him on the leg. He shook it off and ran on the porch, and the old donkey raised up and kicked him out in the yard. The ox caught him up on his horns and ran to the fence and threw him out on the brush. About that time, the old rooster sitting up there on top of the house started into crowing right big. The other robbers, time they heard all that racket, they put out from there just as fast as they could run. The one they'd sent in the house finally got up and started running like a streak, caught up with them in no time. They said to him, what in the world was that in there? Oh, I'm killed, says the man. I won't live over 15 minutes. The other said, well, before you die, tell us what it was that caused all that racket back yonder. Law me, that house is plumb full of men, and they even got one on the roof. I went to blow up the fire, and a man in the fireplace raked me all over the face with an awl. Started to run, and a man behind the door took me in the leg with a butcher knife. Time I got out the door, a man out there hit me with a knot maul, knocked me clean off the porch. A man standing in the yard caught me with the pitchfork and threw me over the fence, and then that man up there on the roof hollered out, chunk him up on up here, chunk him on up here. Ain't no use in going back there with all them men in the house. Don't leave us here quick, let's leave here quick before they come after us. So them highway robbers ran for their life and kept on running till they were plumb out of the country. Jack and the ox and the old donkey and the dog and the cat and the rooster, they all took possession of that house and just had 'em a big time. But the last time I was down that way, Jack had gone on back home to his folks. He was out in the yard a-cutting his mother a big pile of stove wood.